YouTube channel, welcome to another video. It's that time of the week again. It's Premier League predictions time. The FA Cup may have took centre stage over the course of the past weekend, but the upcoming one sees the resumption of the Premier League and 10 more exciting and intriguing encounters for us to sink our teeth into and to feast our eyes upon. This, of course, is the video where we get into all of the talk, all of the analysis, and the predictions on how I think each and every single game will go. But before we go any further in discussing all of that and much more, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things will always be greatly appreciated. And, of course, I encourage you all to get involved in the comments section as well. Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on how you think each and every single game will turn out this weekend. After all, people, where would a Premier League predictions video be, after all, without your predictions? Get involved, get them in down below. Would love to know what you guys have to say on all the Premier League games coming up this weekend. And without further ado, we will kick things off with Friday night's game. Yes, there is a Friday night game, so fantasy football managers, get your fantasy teams in order and checked before Friday night as Brighton kick off the weekend against Chelsea at home at the Amex Stadium. And as you can see, I've gone with a bit of a goals galore 2-2 type of game in this one. Now, both of these teams slightly inconsistent over the past several weeks. Both of these teams have the tendency to turn up and play extremely well. But both of these teams also have the tendency to allow stupid goals to be conceded and also to miss a hatful of chances. This could genuinely be a very exciting game for either all the good or bad reasons, whether you are a neutral or not. This is going to be an incredible game, I imagine. I've gone 2-2. I really can't separate them. If I had to lean more towards one or the other, I think Chelsea may just be able to get the victory in this one. But having said all of that, like I say, Brighton have the opportunity to throw a spanner in the works. They play some really good stuff. They've got a very good squad overall and building up in certain places. And of course, defensively, they can be strong on their day, but often they do leak stupid goals with how adventurous they are. And up front, they have very good players that can obviously hurt and penetrate the Chelsea back line. But also, sometimes they fail to take their chances. This could genuinely be a very chaotic game of football we have on our hands here. And fingers crossed from a neutral perspective that it is. I've gone 2-2. I'm not entirely confident this could go any which way in my opinion. But I am going to start things off with a draw for the Premier League predictions of this upcoming weekend. Next up, 12:30, lunchtime kickoff on a Saturday. We're at the King Power Stadium for Leicester City taking on Arsenal. And I've gone with a 2-0 win to the Gunners. Another case of poor or building up of injuries, should I say, for Arsenal Football Club. But they should have no problem whatsoever in beating this Leicester side. A Leicester side who are in desperate need of getting points on the board to separate themselves from that relegation zone. But of course, as we know, they are finding it difficult, and they don't come much more difficult than Arsenal. Even if Arsenal are currently finding themselves snowed under a little bit with injuries, the Gunners and Mikel Arteta should have no issue whatsoever in dispatching of Leicester and getting the 3 points. Of course, this could be a banana skin waiting to happen, but Arsenal should, at least for the time being, close the gap on Liverpool at the top of the table to 4 points before the Reds take on Wolves on Sunday. Next up, Aston Villa at home at Villa Park taking on Ipswich, another team in desperate need of points as they fight relegation. I've gone 3-1 to the Villains in this one. I think Aston Villa are in desperate need of just steadying themselves a little bit. They just need to get 3 more points on the board and maybe start to build from there. I know they've got a couple of injuries, but the January transfer window that I've seen a couple of additions to the side, maybe temporarily on loan, but still additions for the side, may be useful for them as the season plays out for the second half of it. Regardless, Villa should win anyway. but we may get to see more of Marco Asensio. We may get to see more of Marcus Rashford in an Aston Villa shirt, which will be very interesting and very exciting for those Villa fans. As for Ipswich, they're pinning all their hopes on Liam Delap and trying to find them some sort of salvation up front. They need to stop conceding stupid goals and rely on his cool goal-scoring ability that he has displayed so often this season so far. It's not out the realms of possibility for Ipswich to get something in this game. And yes, they desperately need it if they want to try and fight off relegation. But Aston Villa to win is what I am going for in this game. 3-1 to the Villains is what I am imagining, especially when you consider the form of Morgan Rogers right now. Whew, that guy is red hot right now. Next up, we're off to Craven Cottage for Fulham against Nottingham Forest. High-flying Nottingham Forest coming into this one off the back of a 7-0 hammering that they delivered to Brighton, of course. They'll be flying high off that result. But they come up against a very different opponent, a bit more of a reserved opponent, a bit more of a defensively structured opponent in Fulham. And that could obviously mean that there are less spaces to exploit. And unfortunately, if you're a Forest fan, there may be less goals as well. But I'm still backing your club to win this game and get the 3 points. I still think Forest will have enough about them in the final third to get the job done. But that isn't to say that Fulham won't be able to make this a real good game. It could be a very interesting game. Not maybe one that has too many bright moments. Maybe not one that has too many highlights or big highlights at that. But it could be a very interesting battle between Marco Silva and Nuno Espirito Santo. Like I say, I think Forest this season, having them a very good defensive record, being very, very good in midfield, and of course having a lot in terms of firepower, in terms of Anthony Elanga on one side, Callum Hudson-Odoi on the other side, Chris Wood obviously firing on all cylinders, and of course Morgan Gibbs-White pulling the strings for Nuno Espirito Santo's side. I reckon Forest will get the job done and they'll have enough about them to, of course, get the 3 points. Isn't that Rams a possibility again for Fulham to get something? It's a very difficult game to call, but Forest are seemingly the more reliable going into this one, which is why I'm backing them to redeem themselves and get on the winning track again. We shall see how far they go this season. It's going to be very interesting end to the season as far as what Nottingham Forest are concerned. But yes, another 3 points under the belts of Nuno Espirito Santo and Nottingham Forest is what I am predicting for this weekend. Next up, Manchester City against Newcastle. Huge game for both of these sides. And I have gone with an incredible 3-1 scoreline in favour of Newcastle. Now, Newcastle normally turn up in this fixture. It's actually going to be a very interesting clash. And I can't actually believe this is a 3 o'clock game on a Saturday. What the hell is going on there, people? Why is this game, of all games, a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday? Especially when you consider that, with all due respect to both Crystal Palace and Everton, their game is the 5:30 one, the Saturday evening. Why? Oh, why? Oh, why is this a 3 o'clock game on a Saturday when this normally is an incredible encounter year after year after year after year? And especially with the way that City are right now, in desperate need of points, in desperate need of a win to stabilise things a little bit, coming up against a Newcastle side who have a certain Alexander Isak, who is in extremely good goal-scoring form. Anthony Gordon, who always turns up against the big six, against the traditional, shall we say, big six clubs. He always seems to turn up in these games. Jacob Murphy is getting on the score sheet and is also recording a few assists this season. A midfield of Joelinton, Tonali, Guimarães, Longstaff could actually be thrown in there for legs. It's going to be a very interesting game to see how both teams handle this one. And like I say, Newcastle will certainly fancy their chances. And they really should be smelling blood in this one. Because if they work the ball really well, if they are obviously up for the fight, if they are physically firing on all cylinders, they will beat this Man City side, because this City side right now seem like a team that don't want to chase the ball. They don't want to defend. They don't want a physical battle. If Newcastle make them do all of them things, they will be superior to Pep Guardiola's side, and Pep Guardiola and his Manchester City side will have a lot more food for thought on their plate than they initially do, with obviously the Real Madrid second leg coming up, in which they are a goal down going to the Bernabeu with. It's going to be an incredible battle, this one. Once again, still can't believe that this is a 3 o'clock game for our Saturday afternoon viewing, but there you have it. 3 o'clock Saturday, City, Newcastle, Etihad, and I've gone with a 3-1 scoreline, backing the likes of Alexander Isak to continue his incredible goal scoring run. Next up, Southampton taking on Bournemouth. St Mary's awaits an incredible clash here. Southampton picked up an extremely good win against Ipswich, but I think it might be too little too late. If they are to put together some more wins though, that could obviously change my mind, but I don't see them winning against the Bournemouth side, who will obviously want to fight back from that 2-0 defeat that they suffered at Liverpool in the last game that they played in the Premier League. This should be an incredible battle. This is going to be a very interesting battle, to say the least. But it's one that I think Bournemouth will be chomping at the bit to get back to winning ways with. It'll be chomping at the bit to obviously increase their chances of goal difference. There's an opportunity here, a favourable game to get a few goals under their belts. And of course, to get 3 points and put some pressure on the teams that are above them. It could be a very good afternoon for a Bournemouth side that have performed extremely well over the course of the season. I only see there being one winner here, in all honesty, and with all due respect to Southampton. But the cherries to get the 3 points is what I am going for in this prediction. Moving on to West Ham against Brentford. I've gone 1-1 in this one. I really can't separate them because I don't really know what teams are going to turn up for this one. West Ham, we know, can be awkward on their day, but so too can Brentford. And Brentford, with the likes of that 1-2 knockout punch they've got going on up front with Mbeumo and, of course, Vissa, will obviously be strong opponents. And, of course, on the counter-attack, they're going to be a very, very big threat for West Ham to try and handle. But West Ham have some good players in their ranks as well. Decent players at that. And players that will obviously cause Brentford some food for thought. If I had to lean more towards one or the other, I would probably go with Graham Potter's West Ham, but I'm going to keep it down the middle. I'm going to call it as a draw, and I'm going to say that West Ham and Brentford finish 1-1 come the final whistle here. Next up, Crystal Palace against Everton. What a game we have in store for our 5:30 kickoff. Palace 2, Everton 2 is what I am going for as the result for this game at Selhurst Park. Look, David Moyes, since he's come back at Everton, has been a revelation. He has been absolutely incredible in the few games that he's obviously took charge of, back at the Toffees, back at Goodison Park. And of course, the dramatic draw midweek against Liverpool is no exception. Now, of course, the extra 90 minutes in those players' legs may play to Crystal Palace's advantage. And of course, the injury that Ndiaye suffered at the hand in that game obviously may be a unwanted for the game, but obviously a boost for Crystal Palace. But that isn't to say that this game is a foregone conclusion. Crystal Palace obviously have the informed Jean-Philippe Mateta that Everton will have to deal with, whilst Everton have their own striker who's actually got on the score sheet a fair few times under David Moyes so far in Beto. So it's going to be an interesting clash between two very physical strikers there. We obviously know that these two teams rely on the counter-attack. They obviously like a set piece every now and again. It's going to be a very interesting tactical battle, this one, that I could see either side walking out with the win, in all honesty. But I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I'm going to call it down the middle. And I'm going to say that both of these teams end up sharing the spoils come the full-time whistle. Next, it is a massive one. The penultimate game on this list is a massive game at Anfield between Liverpool and Wolves. Liverpool obviously go into this game 7 points clear. at the top of the table. But obviously that could change depending on the result that Arsenal play out against Leicester. Arsenal have the opportunity to reduce it to either 6 or 4, depending on their victory, or it could actually stay the same, given how that game may go. Liverpool just need to focus on Liverpool, though. They just need to focus on themselves. If they focus on themselves, they'll get through. This should be a win for the Reds. This should be a win for the Reds. Wolves can be a dangerous side. They've obviously got one huge danger man in particular in Matheus Cunha. They can spring a surprise. We cannot take our eyes off of this game whatsoever, because if we do, we'll end up slipping up, and it could be a very big slip in the grand scheme of things and with the bigger picture. There'll be no Arne Slot on the touchline for this game following his sending off in the aftermath of the game on Wednesday in the Merseyside derby. So Johnny Heitinger will be taking charge of this one, which is never a sentence I thought I'd ever say. But that is the reality of the situation. Arne Slot will not be in the dugout for this game. There'll be no Curtis Jones. Liverpool need to battle for this. They need their big players to step up. They need to stop conceding stupid goals, even though I've kind of given Wolves one, because I do feel like we've conceded a stupid goal, because we just tend to do so. It's just in our DNA right now to just seemingly concede very stupid, easily preventable goals. But I still think our front line will bail us out. I still think the likes of Cody Gakpo and Mohamed Salah will step up, and I still think that Liverpool will get the job done. We win by 3-1, and we go into our next game against Aston Villa on Wednesday, which is going to be an absolute incredible battle that we will obviously talk about nearer the time. But for right now, we also need to keep our eyes focused on this one. We can't take our eye off the ball. Wolves is our next opponent. Main 100% focus on that game. And like I say, I think barring maybe a stupid moment where we concede a stupid, easily preventable goal, I think Liverpool will get the job done and will win by 3-1 on Sunday afternoon. And finally, what I believe to be the biggest game in this round of fixtures, the main event of this upcoming round of Premier League football. It's a Premier League classic. It is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is Tottenham in one corner. It is Manchester United in the other corner. I've gone with 3-2 to Man United. I really don't know what to expect in this game. This is, again, as I said with like the Brighton-Chelsea game, this is either going to be really, really entertaining, or this is going to be absolutely terrible. My money is on it being entertaining, but then there's the follow-up question. Is that going to be entertaining for all the good reasons or all the bad reasons? Are we going to be sat here entertained by goals galore and incredible moments, or are we going to be entertained by the fact that we're watching two teams that are poor defensively and that maybe can't even take their chances in the final third when they're presented with them? It could be a very incredible game of football to watch for our Sunday evening viewing. But it is one, like I say, that I'm hoping there's going to be goals galore in. And I'm not hoping, obviously, that Man United win, but I just think Man United will win the game. I think they'll get their revenge on, obviously, Tottenham beating them earlier on in the season. We know that sometimes Tottenham do tend to turn up in these types of games. But I just think that with the way Tottenham are playing right now, with how awkward things are at Spurs, with how nervous things are with Tottenham right now, I just see Manchester United getting the job done. By any means necessary. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be the most nicest game of football you're ever going to see. It'll probably be very ugly. It'll probably be very nitty and gritty and all of that stuff. But I just see United getting the job done. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be rough at times. But I just think United will have enough about them to get the job done. And especially with maybe strength and depth as well, which is not really something I would associate with Manchester United. But in comparison to the Spurs team, the strength and depth may be able to bail out United on this occasion. Tottenham need a response, there's no doubt about it. Getting knocked out of both domestic cup competitions in the space of a few days, they definitely need a response. And Postecoglou's job is seemingly hanging on by a thread, and that thread seems to be the Europa League. I think as soon as he's out the Europa League, I think he's gone, if that is obviously to come to pass. They need a response, but both of these teams are staring down the barrel of a potential relegation battle this season, and both these teams need the points. And United could really, obviously help themselves, but also deal a big hammer blow to Tottenham should they get that victory. And it's something that I think could definitely happen going forward. But anyway, those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, predictions of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling, your thoughts, your comments, opinions. But most of all, of course, I want to know your predictions down below in that comment section. Use and abuse that section, people, and talk to me on how you think each and every single Premier League game will go this weekend. Would love to hear from you all, so please do get involved and want to know your predictions down in that comment section. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always in for be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening, and thank you all for your either brand new or continued support to the channel. Whichever one it is, I'm greatly appreciative of all of you. You guys are all awesome. Will never be taken for granted. But yes, welcome along if you are brand new, and if you are have stayed put for a while. I can't thank you guys enough. So thank you all for all of that support you are showing to myself and the channel. Very much appreciated. Otherwise, I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League predictions video, and I will see you and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.